how you going? It's Donna here, and today I thought I'd talk a little bit into the whole, can a non-psychic, non-telepathic type person learn how to do animal healing? I remember when I first started this journey, I was just like, what the F have I just gotten myself into? I remember starting the course thinking, oh my God, I've never done anything like this before. And I think I did put up a few videos on my YouTube channel just speaking into that a little bit and going, what have I done? And I've never had any of these type of skills, or, I wasn't born psychic. I wasn't born telepathic. Probably the complete opposite. Who knows? I guess we're all born with the gift and we kind of lose it. But anyway, so I was wondering, am I going to be able to do this? And so it's been, a little under a year now that I've been working with animals and learning how to heal them and all the rest of it. And I've actually had a few success stories. So, there was one dog, for example, Naya, her human, came to me and said, Naya had just been through some pretty serious surgery, all to do with her digestion. She's a Labrador, and apparently Labradors are quite renowned for digestive issues. And it was really, really bad. She was, in the emergency, had surgery, thought that she was possibly going to die. It was pretty bad. And anyway, it was at the same time I put out a post to say, I need to learn how to heal animals energetically. Are there any volunteers who would allow me to practice on their animals? And so Naya's human reached out and was really keen. Obviously, she was, what had happened to her dog was pretty traumatic for both her and the dog. And so we thought, why not give it a go? Anyway, we did the first session and it was all pretty standard. A few things came up which would probably be, actually, what was really interesting? This was the first time I had ever done a session with the person on the phone. So I was talking through the session as we went. And I reckon something came up initially. I can't remember exactly what it was. But then the second thing that came up as I went through my healing system was there's a visiting energy in the house, a family member or whatever. And I sort of, I was saying this out loud to Naya's human on the phone. And she was like, oh my God, my uncle's just passed away. And so basically, at the end of the day, it came down to the fact that her uncle was with her, and it was a really comforting thing for her. But it was just a good validation that what I was doing was on par, And so anyway, we did the first session. It was all pretty standard, and it didn't really go for that long. And then she was comfortable. Naya's mum was quite comfortable for me to do the sessions in my own time when I could. And so the next session, it was just me and Naya. By the way, I'm doing all this all remotely. I've got a photo of Naya and I use that to connect and then do the healing. And so I think it was either the second or the third session. And I always message my clients and let them know, what came up, as well as send them a report. And I think it was, within 24 hours of me doing the session, Naya's human sort of ended up, I got a text or, a message through Facebook Messenger. And she was like, Naya has thrown up, it was a real full on deep bile. She's never thrown up like this since she was a pup. She's never thrown up like this. And I was distraught, obviously. I thought, oh my God, what have I done? But she was like, no, this is a good thing. Because we were messaging each other, and eventually she sent me a voice message. Because when you're reading text, sometimes you take it the wrong way. And I was in tears. I already took it the wrong way. But she was like, no, this is released deep inner, deep stuff from Naya. Naya was completely fine afterwards once she vomited up that, bile. And pretty much ever since, she's been really good. I'm still doing sessions for her roughly every 6-7 weeks, but yeah, she's coming along really well. So there's something. I think that's could be classed as a success. And and then there's another dog. It was really interesting, actually. The reason I started healing this dog's name was Lucy. She sort of gets quite reactive when her owner leaves the house. And anyway, I was doing some work on her. She's a Jack Russell, doesn't get walked, and needs a lot of training. And so unfortunately, energetic healing isn't a quick fix. You know, you can't just do energetic healing and expect the dog to be, you know, 100%. So unfortunately, the dog still does get reactive whenever the owner leaves the house. And so I decided to let that go and do a session instead on increasing the dog's health and vitality. And anyway, some emotions came up. There were some 5 pretty, you know, things like depression, self-esteem issues, this, that, and the other. And I sent the report to Lucy's human, and it was all, you know, pretty well on par. And that's what I forgot to mention too. I think maybe the second session I had with Lucy, when I was dealing with her reactivity for whenever her human leaves the house, an emotion that came up that I needed to release for her was sorrow. And anyway, Lucy basically lives up the road from me, and her human came around. She knocked on the door. She goes, "Look, I've got to tell you something." Because I pretty much give the emotion, the year that it happened, the month that it happened, like when the dog first took it on. Turned out it was pretty much on par with the time Lucy's human, her husband had passed pretty much at that time. And she remembers Lucy whining down the hallway because her husband passed in her house. So they had to come and get him, and an ambulance, and they wheeled him out of the house. And Lucy apparently was just whining the whole way down the hallway. So I thought, wow, you know, I mean, as sad as it sounds, once again, it seems pretty on par with what I was going through with the healing for Lucy, and the fact that it seems to be fairly accurate, I would say. And so anyway, yeah, and then afterwards I decided to work on her health and vitality, and those emotions came up, and it turns out that Lucy's owner had gone through, you know, depression and self-esteem issues and all this stuff during that period of time that I stated. So the accuracy is definitely there. And then there's another interesting story too. I've been working on a dog called Chisel, and the issue with Chisel at the time was no one could clip him. He was also inappropriately urinating in the house, but we're pretty sure it was from the stress of the person that was living, another person was living there at the time. It was a rental property. So we had Chisel and Chisel's owner, Alison, and Alison had a flatmate. And so we believe Chisel was quite old, and yeah, the inappropriate urination was just due to stress from the flatmate. But as far as the clipping goes, it was really interesting because after a couple of sessions, what came up, now this may sound really freaky, and this was one of the reasons I'm thinking, who am I to be doing this? Because I've never had any of these skills or abilities before, and some of the stuff that comes up can be pretty full on. But what came up, see, what happened with Chisel is the reason why he no longer liked being clipped was because one day Alison had come home and her flatmate had a boyfriend over, and they were sitting there, and they decided to try to clip, or they decided to give Chisel a haircut at the time. And don't know what happened, but ever since that day, Chisel was like, no more clipping, no more haircut, do not touch me. And so it was quite, it just seemed quite weird that there was a significant event that seemed to cause him to not want to be clipped. What ended up coming up, now believe this if you will or not, it's up to you, but what came up was when I was releasing stuff from him just to release anything that was preventing him from being clipped, a past life issue where pretty much exactly the same scenario had happened. His owner in the past had allowed, or a friend of the owner had tried to clip Chisel in a past life and nipped him. And so what that had done was made Chisel a lot more sensitive to that event. So that event has played out, and now I was able to release that from his energy, so that, you know, in his next life, he won't have to go through that again. And, you know, and now I can actually show you some before and after shots. His chisel before he got trimmed, and now his chisel afterwards. So I would say that's a reasonably good success story. And there's a few other things that came up with his trimming as well. Is he does have a skin issue, and a lot of the stuff, see, basically I healed via frequency as well, and there was specific essences and stuff that would come up that were purposely for skin irritations or whatever, and quite often that would come up. So anyway, that's all interesting. And yeah, the reason I'm saying all this, I guess in the end of the day, is I was so doubtful as to whether or not a person, an average Joe Blow like myself, who had never shown any psychic abilities or telepathic abilities or anything like that, can a person like that learn how to heal animals energetically? And I think evidence is, I mean, you can take my word or not, but I believe I am. I believe I am healing animals. I really believe that I'm learning how to do it. Practice makes perfect. And what I'm finding from the way that I do it is it's actually starting to develop some psychic abilities. I get this sense of knowing, like if I can blank my mind, and then the first thing that comes in, or even as I'm doing a session, what I sometimes do is ask a question, and the answer will just pop in my head straight away. So, you know, I'm finding from doing what I'm doing, it's helping me to develop all those psychic abilities. So it just goes to show, you know, that I do believe that we have these abilities when we were young, when we were born, when we're children, we naturally have these abilities. But I believe we get them conformed out of us. You know, society, family, religion, whatever, can quite often condition all those gifts out of us. And so it's a matter of relearning. So if I had to go back now to one of my original videos where I was really doubting myself, I would have to step back and go, you know what? Anyone can do this. Anyone can learn it. So anyway, that's all from me. I think that's long enough. Hope you're having a great one wherever you are, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.